Number 6, we're going to add a letter I, raised reason. There's no discussion, there's no motion or action needed, but we'll add that.
We do the pledge.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any questions on the minutes from January 3rd or January 7th? Bills.
Okay.
Resignations.
Just had one. Mrs. Erin Clucky wishes to resign from her high school English instructor position as well as yearbook sponsor position at the end of the 2018-19 school year. Erin's worked for CCSD for 2 years. Approval of the resignation is recommended.
And do we have any field trips?
We don't.
Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes. Nobody here. Donations?
Do you have any donations this time?
Personnel report?
Recommendation from Mr. Raymond is recommending Diane Christensen for the middle school secretary position at Carroll Middle School. If approved, Diane will work 8 hours per day, be paid $12.50 per hour. Diane has worked for CCSD for 8 years, helped in the CMS office in the past. Approval is recommended. Contract modification, Mrs. McKenzie is recommending Julie Hausman's letter of assignment to be increased to 7.75 hours per day. Julie works as a paraprofessional. Her hours should include the time that she rides the bus with her special needs students. She rides the bus with the student she is assigned to a round trip each day from Halbert to CHS. She rides with the student morning and afternoon. If approved, this would be retroactive to January 7th when she began employment. Approval of the modification is recommended.
And Diane's, we're changing her title to appropriate title, right?
Yeah, she's been a para for 7 years and really done secretarial duties.
Questions? Your motion.
I'll move to approve the recommendation of Diane Christensen's change in the contract modification for Julie Hausman.
Second.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
I have shout-outs too.
Oh, I totally forgot
That's
that.
okay.
We're back to shout outs. I'm not doing a very good job at following this.
From Principal McKenzie, special thanks and recognition to Mr. Mike McCaffrey for taking the time to drive to Des Moines to pick up tables and chairs from the urban campus at DMAC to be used at CHS. Upon his return, they were unloaded, then over the break put into classrooms. They looked great. Not only did he and his crew arrange the classrooms, move the furniture, but they changed the carpets, scrub floors, and everything at CHS looks absolutely fantastic. Our custodians work so hard. We all know the high school building has a terrific high traffic flow from morning to night throughout the week. Never a shortage of work or enough words to say thank you. So she'd like to recognize Mike McCaffrey, Mark Skillen, Bob Snyder, Reg Conrad, Al Stearns for keeping CHS in top shape for our students, staff, and community. We appreciate you. From Mrs. Melanie Murray, a parent, I'm not sure who is responsible for the notes of appreciation that were distributed to the CMS students placed on their lockers before Christmas break, but I want to thank those people. My girls absolutely love them. It was clear the teachers who wrote them actually meant what they said, did it from the heart. I asked my 8th grader if she brought hers home, and she said, no, I want to keep it in my locker so that I can read it every morning. Thank you for making a difference. What a cool thing to do. By the way, that was the PBIS group that took care of that and got that going, Mrs. Kluber. From Mrs. Jody Hamlos, I'd like to recognize 5th grade teacher Ashley Prudence. She's positive and energetic. Ashley's a leader, very organized, has great communication skills. The best interests are her priorities. It's a true pleasure to work with her. From Ms. Kim Shields, I'd like to recognize the Fairview and Adams staff that presented at the board meeting on January 7th. Proud to be a part of this amazing staff at school. From Mrs. Carrie Ladehoff, I'd like to send out a shout out to the entire CSM staff. Been honored and blessed to be a part of their family for the last 22 years. Every single person in that building goes above and beyond when it comes to serving our students. From Mrs. Becky Bass, Carol Danner is a professional here at CHS. She works diligently advocating for her kids and supporting them throughout the semester, but never is it more apparent how hard she works than semester test week. Every day last week, she had exceptional demands with her student schedules and needs. She deserves a shout out. And from Mrs. Ruck and Cindy Nelson, I'd like to recognize Jeff Dvorak for his persistence in getting the Fairview Elementary sign to work. For 3 months, Cindy has been unable to update messages. Time was off approximately 11 minutes or 12. Jeff worked with the company's tech support for hours last week. Now the sign is up and running at pace to never give up. It's a Tiger thing. Thank you.
Next, we have the administrative reports, the building principal reports. Did everybody get a chance to look at them? Sue, welcome. We miss you at normal meetings.
Just want to be in the loop here.
Did you have anything you wanted to share on the
No,
report?
no.
Next, we have an open enrollment request.
The open enrollment request is for a young man from South Central, Lakeview. He did attend there, then he was at Kemper, and he has indicated in both places that there was some harassment, or his parents did, so we take that under consideration. I did speak with the superintendent at South Central. He did recommend that he be open enrolled here. He has not been in school for quite some time, I don't know how long. But I spoke with Mrs. McKenzie and Mr. McCartan. They would put him in roar to try to do some credit recovery to begin with, see if he could make the adjustment here. So my
If I could
recommendation.
kind of interject here, because they go to our church and actually talked with the mother yesterday, and asked what time to be here, and I said 5:45. So I might would ask if we could jump further into, because it sounded like for Dawson was gonna come, for sure, and she was gonna try to get off work, so
Okay.
if we could delay that till
Come
they're
back to
here,
Yeah, sure.
I think that would be appropriate. You jumped ahead of me so fast I couldn't get in.
Sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt you there,
Sorry.
but they are gonna be coming, so at least encouraging to them. Sure.
So we'll skip that and go into 7, which is the Tiger Trot fundraiser.
We had a discussion this morning, and you guys know from Mrs. Haleska's presentation at our last board meeting. We found some difficulties with that legally, that there was some questions about raising money during school time, and then also obligating every student to have to raise money. Also, I know that the instructors and the admin team wondered about taking instructional time as well. So we did speak with Mrs. Haleska this morning, and the leadership team met with her as well. We think we have a plan that we would like to present to you on the 18th. We've got a few things to work out. It would be later in the year this year, and I know that Mrs. Rook is discussing with her staff. I know Mrs. McKenzie just got back to me and said she'll discuss. So Wednesday they're going to talk about it just to make sure it would work. But we think we might have a plan so it doesn't infringe on any of those legal boundaries.
And that's why on letter H, we're adding the foundation to the facility rental. We didn't have them in the exempt portion of it, so that's what we're doing for the or future things there with them. Questions on that? Calendar committee review?
Just wanted to let you know that we had met last week with the fact-finding committee, which was a large committee of community members, teachers, and then administrators, and went through 3 different calendars. Mrs. Schultz is designing, because we had some difference of opinions about 2 things, the early outs and then possible longer spring break. I don't think there was a difference of opinion, but at least a proposal for that on the spring break. So we're gonna put that survey out to the community, and then I'll let you guys know, I'll get it back to you. The executive committee, the 6 people, will probably meet within the next 2 weeks. So we'll likely have a couple proposals for calendars to bring to you at the February 18th meeting.
Will you get that link to Mr. Stuckes too? So
Yeah,
okay.
it'll go, I told Mrs. Schultz, I wouldn't mind breaking it down to if teachers could do one specific one, so you can from them, and that would be both schools. And then community could do one for both schools, so you can see the differences. Did you want it broken down by Kemper and Carroll, or is it okay just community?
No,
Okay.
just, and will you get that to the committee too, that?
All the survey information?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Next we have the SSA, the new money.
Yeah, and I think in your packets too, because I don't know if the one ran off very well, but I But just looking at the new money, just to give you some context as we kind of approach negotiations, and, Mr. Bankston already did a great job of that, of showing you the cost outs for the percentages. But as the discussions go on in the legislature, just wanted you to be aware of where we're at, and then looking down the line, the projections. So a couple things. First of all, on those projections, I'm not exactly sure where they get those from, kind of generous figures for enrollment. I don't see that increase. I see probably 6 or 7 next year, and then maybe 10 to 15 the next couple of years, and then we go back about 5 years from now. And again, if we have people move in, all kinds of factors can affect that, but they're pretty generous in their projections of going up. So the changes then really were usually around 125,000 to 175,000 with the increased enrollment, if it's at 1%. So you're assuming a bunch of those different things. And in that case, you saw what Mr. Bankston had produced for you. I mean, even a 0.5% was 123,000. So I think it, just again to give you a context as we move forward, anything that we add that's got to be sustainable is likely going to eat into our UAB. Now, we've done a great job, and on the other sheet, you can see kind of a financial focus. It's got all the graphs and the line and things on the other sheet. And you can see that the board and Mr. Bankston's office have done just a terrific job of putting us in a good place. So I'm not so worried for next year, the year after that, maybe even the third year, but depending on what the state does and depending on our enrollment, that line probably won't continue up. And so, we want to make sure that we maintain solvency. And so just to give you some context that way, whenever we're discussing things that are going to be sustainable costs to the district, we want to make sure that we're watching those closely. The good news on there, again, we're not down in the bottom 10 in property tax rate anymore, but we are in the bottom 30 to 40. Kind of depends on which figures you look at week by week, but we are in the bottom, and our spending per pupil still ranges in a good place as well. So I think we're getting the best bang for the buck here in the district anyway. Any questions about new money? And again, we'll just have to watch what goes on in Des Moines, see how we do.
Next, we have the certified budget timeline.
Yeah, and those, again, I mentioned all of you, they just mirror what you did last year, just with the corresponding date. The only kind of point of contention or, thing that I think you guys will have to consider maybe as we get closer, March 12th is actually our board meeting.
Sue, Dawson's locked out.
Oh,
Would you walk
Yep.
quick, please?
No problem.
March 12th is the board meeting, and the reason for that's a Tuesday because the Monday was the conference, so we moved it to the Tuesday. So that would mean it would be the board meeting and then the budget work session following if you want to maintain that. So what I've told all of you is just if it looks like the budget or the agenda is really full, maybe you want to schedule another time. If you feel like staying, I don't know how long.
Are you at the west door?
Don't know how long those have normally went, but it seems like they're a half hour, 35 minutes with the PowerPoint that I reviewed. Unless you see something, we can maintain that, but I'll keep in touch with you up to that point, and maybe at the get a special work session.
Questions on that?
No.
Plan on staying late.
We have
Okay,
approved
12th March, yeah, budget date.
approved the 2018 graduates.
Ms. McKenzie's recommended, and Troy Halbert, Donovan Sims, we approved for graduation retroactive last May. Students were scheduled to return, but they chose not to return this year for whatever reason, so she's asking that they be approved for graduation.
So they have enough credits not to return?
Yeah, and she didn't tell me all the circumstances of why, but they didn't come back, but they had made graduation time.
So it's a retroactive thing then?
Yeah.
Get a motion for that?
I'll move to approve the 2 graduates.
Second.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Next, we have policy 915 R1.
And the additions we wanted, like Mrs. Munson had already mentioned, was CCSD-related nonprofit foundations, which would include CHS Foundation and any others that might want to use our facilities in a way that they're raising money in a nonprofit way for our kids. We just didn't include those on the list, so we'd add that as a general category. And then also, Mr. Bankston noticed that the Iowa High School Activity Association District Region State Championships events are exempt, but actually, we get a percentage of the gate. In normal states, usually that gate just goes in the general fund. In our state, we have to funnel it through rental. So just that's clear, that we don't charge them, we get a percentage of the gate, and then it goes to a rental fee, whatever that percentage is.
So let's see the two bolded. Is everybody okay with waiving the second reading of that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's pretty straightforward.
Can we get a motion with that then?
I move to approve the changes to facility policy 915R1 and waive second reading.
Second. Gina?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Which building are they at? Are they not at either of them?
I'll call him back quick. Let me call him back quick.
You get a guess, Dwayne?
He's not through homeschool.
Are you a yes, Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes. Budget reports.
I literally,
Okay.
Oh, wait, I did.
Did we skip that?
I'm
It's the extra kid,
racist.
add other things on your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
It's just throws everybody off.
just wanted to mention to you, we have had some discussions, in the past about the Rage to Reason program, and what it might mean for intense situations where students are having real difficult behaviors. That PBIS, is a great program, and as a culture, really changes a school that sometimes sweeps kids up and moves them in the right direction. I think we're actually really seeing that at the elementary this year. And with that fidelity of that program, it's been great. However, we're still seeing some students who are affected by ACEs and that kind of trauma really difficult to deal with. Mrs. Bowie's program, from the staff standpoint, from the administrator standpoint, I think really has a chance where we may be able to keep kids in our community rather than having to send them out. Perhaps get them back into the classroom, graduate them back to the least restrictive environments in ways where they can really cope and they get those skills. So I'd like to take a look at, with your permission and with Mr. Bankston, what those costs might be, and basically it would be a special ed instructor, it'd be an addition. This is just after I gave you the gloom about about the new money. But I think that the community, and the parents contacts I've had, including today twice, there's still an idea out there, or even a perception that maybe we're not doing something special for some of these particular individuals. This might be the place to do that. After we get it cost out, my hope would be sometime that the legislature might decide how to use, if they take the $3 million for mental health and actually implement that in our state. If that could be personnel related or program related, maybe that would help us some. Our at-risk dollars are kind of crunched because we haven't used those appropriately for counselors and administrators. But anyway, I think it would be a good investment, and possibly the payoff may be, right now for a lot of those students, we have at least one para, sometimes two. If we could get those students back into a classroom and having that independence, maybe some of those paras would go away. So it's possible, I can't obviously guarantee that. We did see one of our sister schools, Denison's, had great success at the elementary level with their program. They've been graduating a lot of kids back. So I guess I just asked if you'd allow me to consider and maybe come back to you with what the cost might be. And the reason for the urgency may be that if we have to hire a sped person, if I could present something that was approved at the February meeting, we could get it posted and really look right then to make sure we get somebody of high quality, rather than looking in May and hoping that we find somebody.
So you're thinking for the 2019-2020 school year?
Right.
So not implemented this school year, but
No,
next?
next
Okay.
year, yeah.
So everybody
I think it's
okay with
good.
it?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to look.
Well, I'll bring big, it'll be generalized costs because we won't know who we hire and, where we're at in lanes and steps, but at least I can give you an idea. The room itself, Mr. Raymond the other day when we met with their team at the middle school identified 6 to 8 kids already that he thought would be great for that room. If that were the case, each one of them, he mentioned, has a para, we would only require 2 paras, so right away, you'd have a little bit of a savings, because they'd be in that intense room situation. Their staff understands the program, and I think they would do a good job of understanding what the needs are, because it is a little unusual what they do. Sometimes seems to be, there's too much accommodation of those kids at the start, but building that relationship is important. And that's what Dennison mentioned too at the beginning. It was a little tense because it appeared, you know, the inmates were running the prison for a while. But after it got into, I mean, now everybody, you know, really is affirmed and advocating for the program because they see the results. So I'll bring you the cost then, Mr. Banks and I will work to see what that may be.
Now, the business office, the budget,
Along with the cost, it might be interesting just kind of, if there's any way to get a comparison of how many special ed instructors we currently have compared to other school districts our size, and how many paras we have compared to school districts our size.
You know, it's interesting you asked, but I looked at instructors because I was looking at the categories. We are, I don't know if we're unusual or not, because I haven't compared anywhere else, but our behavior in intervention plans are abnormally high compared to the nation in who receives categorical services. Which is, it's good in one way, because that means we have kids who don't have those sorts of disabilities, but behaviors are at the high place, and that's just really, at least it's unusual compared to the country. But I'll take a look at the numbers for instructors, so you have those.
that kind of went along with what Rob had said though too. Remember when the AEA was writing a lot of behavioral plans and putting them on IPs, behavioral IPs? And he was trying to get that in control, right, Gary, a little bit, and check a little bit.
Mrs. Rook just mentioned to me last week that it's 2/3 VIP and 1/3 learning at the elementary school, only at Fairview.
Say that again?
2/3 behavior, 1/3 learning.
For all IEPs.
On IEPs total,
That's really,
unusual,
yeah, in the country,
almost the other way.
yeah, in the country,
At least the other way.
50%, well, almost 60% are learning disabled. So that's really different. I mean, it's, you know, again, in some ways it's a positive. We have kids with academic success and progress and opportunity, but man, oh man, think about what the teachers are having to deal with then. So I'm hoping we find another way.
With, mention on Dennison, are they using this program there?
Yes.
I'd be curious to know how many additional like paras or whatever, what their ratio is, or how that's impacted the before and after this program.
Yeah,
I'm curious to, not that it would fit here or be the same, but just to have an idea.
I don't know that. I do know that Trevor said they're 1 to 3. They have 1 para for 3 kids.
Okay.
But I don't know what the difference would be between us and, or if he took paras out
Yeah.
and invested.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can sure find out if paras have went down. I'm assuming they have because, well, I guess I can't assume that because a lot of those kids were being sent away to Orchard Place and to other places. Now they brought them all back. They have no elementary kids placed in another outside organization. So that's, you know, that's again, what a success thing they need to do with their families and they're in town and they're not being bused somewhere and all those things, so.
Yeah.
But I'll find out. If I know, he'll let me know.
Okay, Gary?
Okay, in the back of your packet, there's a number of different reports. You can start with one that's horizontal. I call it Rob's report. He's the first one. He's the first one that found it somewhere. But this report just compares our expenditures to what we published in the newspaper, and of course, that's what we're held accountable for. And it's just those numbers in the yellow boxes are the ones that we're keeping an eye on. We're about 58% of the way through the school year, so you can see that we're doing pretty good. The other category is construction and that type of thing, so that will tend to be high to start the year, and then it'll taper off as we go along. So that looks pretty good, I think. Second report is your athletic stadium. And again, I just, in yellow are the new activity from a month ago. And you can see that we earned interest must have went up again because we earned $2,022 in interest this month. And then we did have a bill for Covenant Construction, and then Snyder and Associates and Sterling Computers was a printer for the stadium. And that's the only activity that we've had. Then I've got reports in here for local option sales tax, your physical plant and equipment levy, both regular, voted, and then combined. And then the last one is the management fund. The management fund is probably a little more important tonight because later on, we're going to talk about equipment breakdown insurance, so. But it's doing fine, I mean, you won't have any pressure unless you change your mind, you won't have any pressure for early retirement payouts. So, you know, and we're not looking bad at all. So, that's all I have.
Questions? I saw the stadium, the fence was going up.
It
Is it
is.
done?
It's almost done.
They need to get rid of the other fence.
The old fence they stacked up today,
Oh,
they
they
did?
finally get that, okay.
so.
Yeah, it looks good. I know Mr. Banks and I have spoken, they put the poles in such a way attached to the.
Pillars?
Yeah, that, we're a little worried in the cold and the warm that there might be some movement, but.
The center poles are below the frost line. The outer poles, they're not hooked to the columns, those are bolted to the concrete. So Jeff talked to the architect says, well, the pillars are built in such a way, they're below the frost line, and so they don't think that it will heave because of their location to the pillars, so, I don't know, we'll see.
See, I thought they were just going into the pillar.
I did too, but there was a reason why they don't put them into the pillars, and it kind of made some sense once Jeff told me what it was, and I can't think of it now, but, yeah, I just assumed they were drilling into the pillars, but no, they're on a separate pole.
Is there a warranty for the fence?
Well, that's a good question. I'll check on that.
Like all the other warranties,
Yeah.
whatever leverage and pressure we can bring.
Okay. So going back to, now I have to read it. Number 6, letter B, the open enrollment request.
Just, you know, again, as a review, just to let you know, it is my recommendation to approve the open enrollment, but it'd be an open enrollment for Roar High, for the alternative schools to be able to catch up on credits. And that's with the affirmation from Mrs. Tigas, Mr. McCartney, and Mrs. McKenzie.
Are you okay going to Roar? Are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, I just need to go back to school, really, so.
Dawson, do you understand the alternative setting down?
Yeah, Dwayne explained it the other day to me at church.
And you know, I think if you can get in and have some success there, you know, we continue to kind of monitor, catch up on your credits, which is a great place to do that.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully sometime in the future, maybe we can get back to just what's kind of normal. But I think this would be really good for you now, it'd be kind of intense to catching up.
Sure.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, not really.
Isha, are you here supporting Dawson, or are you
No.
observing?
You watch it?
Not.
Any other questions?
Glad you asked, I wondered the same thing.
Any questions for Dawson or?
What grade level are you going into?
Sophomore.
Can we get a motion?
I'll move to approve the open enrollment request for Dawson Elmore.
I'll second that.
John,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Congrats, Dawson, glad to have you, Tiger. Let us know we can help, okay?
Okay.
Does he know what he needs to do next?
Yeah, she wanted me to ask. She's at work right now, so she couldn't be here.
I would say, have you been to the high school office yet?
No.
Why don't you get there?
I mean, I had stopped I dropped off the request there, but that's the only time I was there.
Why don't you get there, I know Mr. McCartan, I think he already has your transcripts.
Okay.
So just tell him who you are, tell him you'd like to see the counselors while you're there, and then they can set you up with everything,
Okay.
okay?
All right. Thank
You
you.
can be able to do that tomorrow, unless you gotta traipse through the snow.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope you can. Get
We'll hope
there.
it's like last time. Don't even get an inch again.
Yeah. Well, try to get there as soon as you can, though, because we wanna get you started, okay?
Okay, sure.
Thank Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good luck, Dawson.
Now we're back to the breakdown insurance.
Okay, and that's in your board folder too. There's 2 pages, I think they're stapled together. We did get 2 bids this year. There is a competitor to, we have SU insurance company now. And there is a competitor to them. It's called the Remy Group. They have not near as many schools as what SU has, but they do have a few schools in Iowa, the largest being West Des Moines. But I guess the one thing that we asked for this year, and I see the sheet I gave you from SU is not the one that I really wanted to give you, but SU's, and this is off the top of my head, the basic premium is about $74,000, and then the HVAC is 30-some thousand, 32 or something like that.
So the 110 that's on this
That's-
sheet, that's the combined.
Both of them, yeah. And I guess my recommendation would be that either we not do the equipment breakdown insurance at all, or if we do it, let's include HVAC. Because HVAC is one of the areas where we spend a lot of money in the general fund to repair those systems. High school, we have a lot of repairs at the high school. We always have since that building was constructed. And then the other 3 buildings have their share of repairs as well. I think Dr. Lean has been a little shocked at some of the bills that we get in on a monthly basis for simply repairing our HVAC system. And the systems, of course, that they use now, there are so many moving parts, you know. In this building, we've got above the ceiling, we'll have heat pumps scattered throughout, and of course, each one of those has a motor, compressor, the whole thing. And there's just a lot of opportunities for things to break down. The bid from SU was for $110,772, and then the bid for Remy was $132,500. The big difference was that SU was significantly cheaper on the HVAC system. So, and we provided, this took some time, it didn't take me time, it took Diane and Jeff worked together. We provided them 3 years of past invoices for HVAC repairs. So they went into it with their eyes wide open. I mean, they knew exactly what our expenses are. And SU, they analyzed the invoices, and they, if I understand it right, they bid just over what our invoices were, which is a little surprising because they like a loss ratio of about 80%, but I think they gave us a pretty good deal on the HVAC part of it. So I guess my recommendation is to go with SU, or we'll do it for 1 year, with the HVAC and see how that comes. Our usage has gone up. Right now, we're at about 6, for this last year that we're on we just finished our 2nd year in the program. In our 2nd year, we're at about 60% usage from what our premium was. Our premium last year was right at 82,000, it was just under 82,000. So we're at about a 60% utilization. I think some of that is getting our people used to using the program. One thing that we really want to get into is, for example, in the kitchen area, They will pay for preventative maintenance every summer, which we have not done because it tends to be pretty expensive. Those folks either come from Sioux City, Omaha, or Des Moines, and, of course, you have to pay mileage and their time getting up here and so forth. But that's something we certainly want to utilize this summer. There's a couple of other areas where, that they would cover the preventative maintenance during the off-season. Another thing that SU did is on both of these companies, we have to fill out a checklist of things that we want covered. And, you know, we probably, I should have brought that in, but we check off, I don't know, there's probably 100 items on there. We check off about 75% of those items. Some of them we don't even have. But SU said that they have changed now to where they cover everything that's on that checklist. So if it's anything electronic, it will be covered under this new arrangement.
Is this the one where we would get a percentage of money back?
That's true.
Gary?
Mhm.
So is that still included with this new?
You know, I didn't
Well-
check with them, but I assume that it is because that was a change that they made in all their policies last year. But I can check on that just to double check that that's correct. I guess that's one thing we didn't talk about.
Did we get anything back this year for not using it this past year?
No, the only time, well, see, we just are finishing now, so and the other thing that's unusual, we're set up to where ours runs on the calendar year. Everybody else is set up to where they're running on the fiscal year. So I'm not sure when they do return those premiums if you didn't utilize up to that certain level. I'll have to check on that as well to see.
That 60% level is what they were guaranteeing.
Yeah. So, that's one thing I do need to check on. Glad you brought that up, because I didn't even,
And
we're
did
so
we have-
busy talking about things that were covered, I didn't even ask about that.
Did we have this budget, do you have it budgeted in the maintenance, or in the management fund already in there? In
Is
the-
that that
Yeah,
100,000?
yes, it is,
Mhm.
Okay,
at 100,000.
and you're okay where it's at then, Gary?
Yeah, I think for this price, I think I'd like to try it for a year, and then I think we should have this discussion again a year from now. And we either continue with it, or we can drop it at any time. So, but this is something that we've been waiting on, was this HVAC, because that is our big,
High cost item.
yes. And this would then save that 30,000 a year, or whatever it is, in the general fund. So that would be money that we could utilize in the general fund for something else.
Gary, when they, like on
And
the
the other
H-
money goes back into the general fund, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't have those expenditures out of general fund because they would be taken care of.
So I assume they have like a deductible, or does it say it pay a certain percent of the repair, or does it pay all the repair, or do you know kind of how?
No, they tend to just repair, for example, if, if we have something that breaks down, they will pay for the electronic part of it, on most things. It has to be something electrical, they don't pay for everything, but, we've had the best success in the area of IT, computers, laptops, those types of things. We've had the best success there, but Jeff is just kind of getting into it. I think he's kind of learning the system and kind of getting a feel as to what they will and won't cover. And I think we could use some additional training, and they're willing to do that. But if we're going, this would be a step up from what we're doing now in terms of the amount of invoices that we're gonna be submitting to them for some reimbursement. So I think it would be good to get some additional training for Jeff and the custodians that will be involved in filling
Kind of knowing
paperwork.
what's covered to make
Yes.
sure they're.
Because that's kind of a key. You know how it is with insurance, you kind of have to know the lingo and how to file it to make that, process work a little better, so.
from them on the return of some of that premium, or are you okay going forward with it even if you don't
I'm,
have that?
I'm okay going forward. I'm pretty sure I'm right in that they will honor that. And the other thing is, we've actually let our policy lapse now, although they're still gonna cover us in this meantime, but it actually ended, December 31st. But because they wanted that additional information on HVAC invoices, we told them that we would do it this month, and they were okay with that, so.
I move to approve the SU 2019 renewal proposal for the equipment breakdown insurance.
Second.
Brad?
Yes,
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
you mentioned, we're kind of on the calendar year on this, and would it make more sense to get it on the fiscal year?
I would say
Do the
if,
shorter contract at some point and then
Yeah.
redo it.
if we have a good year, this coming year, and you think it's really something that we'd like to continue, SU will do an 18-month
Do a
contract.
Longer
and catch us.
contract to get you back onto the
That's
fiscal
right.
year cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we're kind of trying this out, I just said, just leave it at calendar year and we'll see how it goes, so. But yeah, we could easily do that.
Next, we have the Kemper Farm lease. Excuse me.
You want me to take that one? Yeah, I can do that.
You know the history of it?
I don't think it's changed much over the years. The funny thing is, I looked back and I didn't see where we specifically approved it. I think we maybe did we have like 3 FFA leases. I think we maybe did them all together. But we just got this from Kemper, and I think it's the same as it's been in the past. There's 12 acres at $250 an acre, so it's $3,000 annual payment. And of course, it's for the FFA program. And we would recommend approval of that.
Any questions? Get a motion?
I move to approve the Kemper Farm lease.
Second.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
We have a lot of correspondence and announcements in there. Maybe a snow day tomorrow, right?
Oh, no snow days. Get till 1 o'clock at least. No snow days.
We have early dismissal on the 23rd. Snow coming this week. Went by fast.
Can vote today.
Some different early dismissals and speech in there and the ACT testing. Any questions on any of those dates coming up? And then we do have, if I can get my computer to go down, our next meeting will be a closed session on the 31st to finish up our superintendent evaluation, and that's at 5 o'clock. And then during our next meeting, we'll go over the facility planning.
Yeah, Mr. Bankston and I just had some conversation, I know I did with you as well, of maybe trying to recruit a facility planner that would be not too expensive, but also trying to figure out, and maybe through the facility planning committee on the school improvement team as well, figuring out, do we want to target something? Do we want a 5-year comprehensive study, whatever it may be. All of the superintendents I spoke with, they all did it different, they all had different firms. And Mr. Bankston and I spoke about our local architects, since they built the buildings, maybe they would be best if we trusted them. But something that gives us, a plan moving forward, and some of that has to do with just what Mr. Bankston mentioned. You guys know when you go through bills and you see all those bills for breakdowns, particularly of Adams, maybe it's time for us to take a look at where we're going.
And then the employee handbook, and if you have any other suggestions, if you can, negotiations, if you have any other suggestions, if you can get them to Kevin before. Any questions on that? Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Before you
Wait.
adjourn, Ms. Hall-Polk, do you have something to address us?
No, I actually just came to answer questions that the board had about a particular middle school student. I was told that that was gonna be addressed at this meeting, and so I was just making myself available to the board.
No, we
Thank
do.
you, Al.
Sorry, that's okay.
Chris should have the kids all fed and.
And the dishes all washed and everything when I get back,
You
right?
might wanna wait another 15 minutes before you go home, right? Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.
Maybe quickest meeting ever.
Yes.
Yeah.